Hi, my name is Hannah Colazzo, and I would like to take a minute to discuss with you the ever-daunting and currently obviously present COVID-19. I would like to discuss how, when comparing to historic research, vital information based off of that knowledge can in fact be used to not only slow the spread of COVID-19, but can be in fact used as a preventative. Not quite a cure, but can definitely lower the symptoms. So, how do I know this information? Who am I? Hi. So, I have a high fascination for the study of genetics. It's a hobby of mine. I'm not a geneticist. I am by no means a doctor or a geneticist whatsoever. I'm just simply a very fascinated science nerd. That's all I am. And I decided that since we all have so much downtime due to the entire planet being on quarantine, that I would utilize my time in researching all of COVID-19, essentially, and especially on how it affects the body genetically, what it does to you and how your body processes it. This led me to a lot of very groundbreaking research and knowledge that I discovered as I found the comparisons between it and a lot of things in history. So I've decided to share it with the world, or whoever watches this video. So first we need to start with, what is COVID-19? And not mainly on what is it in a molecular stance or in a chemical stance, but what is it when compared to the body, in how your body processes it. First is, there's a lot of fluid in the lungs. It can make you feel like you're essentially drowning alive on land. And what it does is it essentially liquefies your lungs. Not so much as you're drowning in blood, but you're drowning in bodily fluids, in buildups as your body starts to cease in its respiratory processes and essentially shuts down on itself. How did it start? Now this point may seem a little bit confusing, but just bear with me through it. It will make sense later. It began with a rodent, a bat. A bat is merely a winged rodent. And what happened was, when something in the bat mixed with how the human body processes things, and it was injected into the bloodstream, that equaled an airborne pathogen, which then resulted in the high spread due to lack of ability to contain it and quarantine such a horrendous disease. Now, let's erase COVID-19 here and jump back a few centuries and replace it with the bubonic plague, or the Black Death. You may be wondering, what in the world is going on? I'm talking about history. Yes, this has now become genetics to now history. Merry Christmas. So, when you're looking at the Black Death, what was that? What did that do? How did it affect people? Something that resulted in over 50% of the population, far beyond that, of the known world being entirely wiped out. Well, what is it essentially? It is a disease that caused your lungs to liquefy. Fluid in the lungs, and you drowned alive. That's kind of a coincidence. Kind of cool. Okay, next. It started in a rodent. A rat. A rat was on a ship, and a flea bit the rat, then bit the human, transferring whatever was in this rat's bloodstream directly into the human system. Once that processed, it manifested as an airborne pathogen that was then very easily spread. And that is how we got to the same bottom point, the inability to contain it. The Black Death lasted 9 years for the bulk of it, and then continued to linger for centuries because no one had a way to contain it. Now you're probably wondering, okay, what does any of this have to do with right now, COVID-19? Okay, Well, first of all, they are very similar. Now, I am by no means saying that they are identical. They are not the same disease. However, their process and their functionality and their effect on the human system is remarkably similar, and that in of itself can be used to combat it. Because who survived, mainly? Who was nearly untouchable in the Black Death during that whole ordeal? Thieves. Thieves would go and they would break into the homes of sick people, people who were actively dying with the plague on a regular basis, and they survived without a scratch. They came out entirely unscathed. Now, when the magistrate of the area kind of finally was able to arrest these thieves, he sat them down and essentially told them, you have two choices. You either die as punishment for your crimes, or you can tell us your secret. And what they said, what they had to share, was unbelievable. They were not originally thieves. These thieves were not your average, common, run-of-the-muck, steal a lady's purse, or whatever kind of thief. No. These thieves were originally perfume and spice merchants, the highest grade, all over the world. Now, what does that mean? They had access and full knowledge of every perfume, every spice, how it affects you, the potency of it, exactly how to prepare it. Well, when no one's buying your spices and perfumes because they're all kind of dying, what do? They became desperate. They became thieves. And they created a specific blend, now known as Thieves Oil, due to their name. And this blend had so many very specific and strategically chosen selected oils and minerals that when put together created this nearly impenetrable wall against so many diseases, so many viruses. So, Thieves Oil. What is Thieves Oil? I like this part. That was dramatic. Thieves Oil. Thieves Oil is essentially a mixture between clove, eucalyptus, cinnamon bark, rosemary, and lemon. Now you might be wondering, okay, why these specific items? All of these put together penetrate nearly every bacterial virus that it has been tested against, especially eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is the main key factor in this concoction. What it does is it restores and rebuilds the respiratory system, which is essential, seeing as how COVID-19 is, in fact, a respiratory virus. It penetrates right where humans tend to be weakest. Humans are known to be very strong and very durable. We can lose our limbs, we can have bullets shot through us, we can have portions of our brain removed and detached, we can have organs transplanted, and it's incredible to watch what the human body can do and how genetics come into play and rebuild itself, and we can continue functioning. However, one oddly common weak spot in our system is our respiratory system. A key cause in deaths is what? Pneumonia, drowning, lack of oxygen, COPD, lung cancer due to exposure to chemicals in work environments or smoking, things like that. Our respiratory system seems to be the weakest point, and that is what eucalyptus does. It targets this. All of these items individually play a key part. They all result in the breakdown of cancerous cells, or the reproduction, especially lemon, works for the reproduction of cells. Something that lemon does is it acts like a glue. It helps your body process all of these. Cinnamon and clove both together help to repair and rebuild. Now, me thinking, okay, At this point, this is probably just a bunch of hooey. This is one of those essential oils advertisement videos. It is not. Most of my life, I've kind of thought of essential oils as, I don't know, kind of just a bunch of hooey. Absolutely no offense to those of you who believe in it. You're more than welcome to. I just personally was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So I did a bunch more research into it for my own personal knowledge, and what I found was incredible. When you look at specifically Dr. D. Gary Young, he did a lot of research into this. Him, along with Webster State University, especially in 1997, they did a specific research and found that when this specific Thieves Oil blend was combined and interacted with a variety of different diseases and airborne pathogens and things like that, after simply 10 minutes, some will say it's 14, some will say 12, some will say 10. It depends on the intensity of this specific blend and for how long and what results you're wanting. But after about 10 minutes, 99.6% of whatever this blend came into contact with was killed nearly instantly upon impact. And the system of the human body was beginning to repair itself and rebuild itself by simply being exposed to this. It's incredible. The Center for Biochemical Technology in Delhi, India, they did a very similar study, wanting to know, okay, what is the validity of this? And their results were incredibly similar. The University Institute of Medical Mycology in Japan also had the exact same type of results. The University of Minnesota, all over the board, scientists and very much more qualified than me people were testing this whole concept and finding that the results were uncanny. It was incredible. Now, okay, you're saying, okay, this is great, Hannah. You have told us all this wonderful information. But how do I get this into something that I can use? Okay, if you're wanting to use it topically, what you can do is, in making this blend, which, by the way, if you go onto a lot of these essential oil websites and things like that, they have a way to create this blend. Some will have larger concentrates of different ones, and some will have smaller concentrates, and it really depends on the amount that you're making and what you're using it for. If you're using it on your body in a topical cream kind of manner, you do want to mix it with a base oil, like coconut oil or something, because it softens it. This is a very potent combination of minerals and oils. It is very strong, which it ought to be. If you are going to combat something as strong as the Black Death or COVID-19, things that have an insanely high death rate and spread like wildfire, you need something to be equally strong to use as your defense system. It's like going up to a fight with one hand tied behind your back saying, okay, I got this, except I'm only half prepared and only have half the ammo that I need. You need your gun fully loaded, and you need it fully functional. This is what this is. So it's very important to mix it. You don't want to rub the raw blend directly onto your skin, especially at your nose. Do not do that. I kind of tried that during my whole trial and error period of figuring out how all of this worked, and it did not work out. My nose was burning, and then my eyes were burning from the fumes. Like I said, this is very strong, so mix it with a base oil. If it is to be inhaled, you can inhale it directly. However, this part is important. You need to give your lungs time to acclimate themselves to this blend. Like I said, it is exceedingly potent. What I did was, I'm not a geneticist whatsoever. I'm just a genetics nerd. But by day, I am actually a makeup artist and professional theater seamstress. So I made myself a handy-dandy mask, which is really fun and convenient. However, what I did was I took my Thieves Oil and I placed it on the inside of the mask along the center seam and kind of in light patches on the outside. very lightly. Then I put a little bit more on the outside. And then I let it air out a little bit because it's very strong. What you do after that, do not directly inhale. You will go into a coughing fit and then feel a little woozy. That's also what I did through trial and error. This is all research that I am slowly discovering and adding to my ever-increasing knowledge. So after inhaling it, what you want to do is probably lay it against the side of your face. You can do it in bed at night to go to sleep. That would be a great way to do it. And give your lungs time to inhale it gradually, to acclimate themselves to it and adjust. Then you can put a bunch on it, put it on, and inhale deeply, and it's not gonna kill you. Right now I have a bunch on mine. So, as you can see, I'm not coughing and dying, which is nice and convenient, but you need to give your body time to adjust. When applying it topically, there are key portions that you want to make sure you hit. The bottom of your feet, because the soles of your feet are actually very, very absorbent. A lot of the toxins in your body can be extracted through your feet and vice versa. You can pick up a lot of stuff. It's probably why Grandma was always telling you, don't run around outside barefoot, you'll get some sort of disease. There was actually a little bit of grain of truth in that. It wasn't just simply Granny being paranoid. Your feet are highly absorbent, and chances are that if you were to step on a bacteria or a germ that was parasitic, it would be very much so likely to be absorbed by your feet and processed by your body much quicker than if you had simply touched it with your hand. Which leads me to my next point. Putting it on your hands is another thing that the thieves did. They placed it on the soles of their feet, their hands, right behind their ear. This skin over here is very soft and thin, easily absorbent of materials that are put on here and chemicals and creams that are put on here. And they're conveniently right next to a lot of different processing glands in the system that work together, mixing with your respiratory system. They also placed them on their temples, and then they saturated their masks with them. Like I said, saturate your mask. Just don't inhale it directly. These were things that they did. Another way that technically thieves oil can be processed by your body is finally orally. However, I do not recommend this. This is an exceedingly potent mixture. To ingest it orally would require consulting with your doctor, what they think and how they think the best way to work is based off of your own personal body's immune system, how your body works, if there are any prior medical conditions. Please no one read and watch this video and read what is on my board and go, okay, I will now ingest thieves oil. Please no one get sick. I don't want anyone coming back to me saying, I'm horribly sick and you killed me. That would be absolutely terrible. So I highly recommend not consuming this. Don't eat it or drink it or lick it at all. Just inhale it and slowly adjust. So with all of this being said, that brings me to my final point. Please share and help save lives. I am very confident in what I have displayed before you, in the science and in the research that I have found and what is put together. Those who survived the Black Death and lived through it, their immune systems tripled through the generations in strength, unlike any other. And I believe that those who survive COVID-19, our immune systems, after living through, will indeed do the same, according to how the science plays out. I am very confident in the research that I have done, and I wholeheartedly believe that if shared, this can in fact save a lot of lives, or at least prevent things. I'm so confident that I would be willing to lather up in this Thieves Oil blend, grab my mask, and spend a day sitting in a home filled with people who are quarantined, and I wholeheartedly believe that I would come out unscathed. Because that is what the thieves did. That is what these merchants, these well-educated perfume and spice merchants did against a virus that was very similar in how it affected the human body. And so I believe that this would be very similar also. If you did not believe anything that I just said, or if you think, like I said, that all the essential oils and this and that is simply a bunch of hooey, that is okay. You are entitled to your opinion, as am I, as are we all. It is simply a matter of what we decide to do with what information we are given. So if you do not agree, that's cool. Please share it anyway, and allow other people to have their own chance to decide whether they believe it or not. Thank you very much for your time. God bless.